My main dream are the 3 Grand Tours, but I know that's a hard way and a long way. But yeah, I'm still young and I have a long way to go, so we're gonna work hard and then hopefully I can win one of the 3 Grand Tours.
Why Remco Evenepoel will be the future of road cycling. In January 1990, Peter Sagan was born, the most popular rider of the last decade and one of the brightest personalities in the sport. 10 years later, in the year 2000, another rider who could take the place of Sagan was born, Remco Evenepoel. He is not just one more talented youngster, but a rider who can become the face of road cycling and the biggest star of the sport for many years to come. But why Evenepoel? The reason is money. Let me explain. What does any sport need? Money. What does it take to attract sponsors with money? Fans' attention. You must admit that sponsors don't want to invest in a sport that is not popular with the public. But what does this mean for cycling? Cycling in the US is not only less popular than the most followed sports like football, MMA and basketball, but is also behind many other sports. In some countries, like France, Belgium, Italy, Great Britain and the Netherlands, the situation is a bit different. These countries love cycling, and the sport often hits the front page of sports newspapers and receives a lot of attention. In a global sense, cycling is somewhere in the middle, lagging behind the most mainstream sports, but still getting a decent amount of attention. Nevertheless, there are more than enough sponsors for 18 World Tour teams with budgets in excess of 10 million euros, and there are many riders with a salary of more than 1 million euros per year. What else could attract additional attention to cycling? Star riders who are popular and marketable, those who show their value on and off the road. What do most cycling stars look like? Primož Roglic, Wout van Aert, Jonas Vingegaard, Alejandro Valverde and many others are the stars of the peloton. They may ride in exciting ways, but they behave in the same way during interviews and media responsibilities. When it comes to interviews, they are all calm guys who praise their teammates and speak respectfully about their opponents. Yes, this is proper, but very boring. And one could get the impression that the riders, like programmed robots, say and do the same things. But it is hard to blame them for this. Many of them cannot express their thoughts more openly due to the fact that the teams have sponsors who do not need negative press. This is why we get cookie-cutter interviews, cautious statements, and boredom. Naturally, sports fans always want to get something hot, to discuss a scandal or a sensation. The public affairs officers of the teams and of the riders themselves try not to stand out. As a result, in recent years cycling has lacked bright characters. Why is Remco different? In the 2000s, Lance Armstrong was the face of cycling. He was the perfect star for the sport. An American who had come back from cancer to win one of the most demanding sports events in the world. He won often and always had something controversial to say. Armstrong was a true superstar who became bigger than cycling itself. He was sponsored by the biggest brands and dated famous musicians and movie stars. After a while, Peter Sagan took the place of the American. Sagan was funny and light-hearted, and he often made jokes and had fun during races. He did goofy celebrations when he won, which was often, and he was a fan favourite of the sport. However, Peter Sagan never quite reached the popularity and fame of Armstrong. This was for 2 reasons. First, he did not win the general classification of the Tour de France, and second, he represented a small country with a small population that was not really interested in cycling. Now the place for the biggest star of cycling is vacant. Sagan is declining and he is no longer the face of road cycling as he once used to be. There are multiple candidates that could take his place, such as Tadej Pogačar, Jonas Vingegaard, Mathieu van der Poel, Wout van Aert and Remco Evenepoel. They all race in an exciting and aggressive manner. They often win, but only Evenepoel has everything to become the main cycling star. The young Belgian evokes different emotions. Some love him and some can't stand him. This attitude is caused by his behaviour and his comments in the press. He makes loud statements and has a polarising personality, which is strikingly different to Pogačar, Van Aert and the others. Of course, Evenepoel is still far from Armstrong, both in charisma and in titles, if not taking into account his disqualifications. However, these will likely improve as he develops as a rider. Unlike Peter Sagan, he has shown with his incredible Vuelta performance that he has the potential to win the Tour de France. If he becomes Tour de France champion, his fame and popularity will certainly skyrocket, much like the case with Lance Armstrong. But aside from the Tour de France, he has already made a name for himself by becoming world champion at the age of 22, just like Lance Armstrong and the GOAT of cycling, Eddy Merckx. Belgium itself is of course not the United States, but a much more attractive country for cycling than Sagan Slovakia. When Remco became popular as a 19-year-old, he started his own clothing brand. This also characterizes him as a future star. It allows his biggest fans to buy his merchandise, advertise his name, and identify as part of the Remco fan club. Plus, the sales proceeds are donated to charity. Another aspect of being a star is his social media presence. A normal cyclist's Instagram account is boring, a photo during training followed by a photo during a race. Evenepoel's has more variety. His posts consist of a mixture of his incredible race results, his romantic relationship, his charity work, which consists of raising money and promoting cycling, and his sponsored posts. This leads to him having among the fastest growing social media presence of cyclists. Proof of Evenepoel's marketability is the decision of Pizza Hut Belgium to make him their brand ambassador. This brand deal shows Pizza Hut's long-term expectations of Evenepoel and is likely a result of his strong social media presence. His fast-growing Instagram account will certainly be a useful tool in building his fame and interacting with his fans, and will play a big part into turning him into a superstar. To conclude, a mixture of factors give Evenepoel all the ingredients he needs to become a superstar. His polarizing personality, he's from a nation crazy about cycling, he has a strong social media presence, he is young with many good years to come, and most importantly, he is incredibly talented on the bike. What do you think the future holds for Remco? Will he be the biggest star of the generation, or will that achievement go to another rider? And do you think he has the potential to win the Tour de France? Comment your thoughts down below. Like the video if you enjoyed, and subscribe if you want to see more content like this.